MJ is a motherfucking bully. Well, was a bully. I don't know what he's like in his everyday life now. Scottie Pippen, don't fucks with him. I have never fucks with him. Hi guys, you are watching Etcetera With Est. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good ish. Today I am going to be talking about The Last Dance, which is a docu-series based on Michael Jeffrey Jordan's life, as well as, well, specifically the 97-98 season, when they were going for the double three-peat. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm not a basketball analyst. I'm not a pundit. I don't do commentary. I don't follow the sport. So obviously my take on the docu-series is not necessarily going to be about, you know, oh, how he was in the paint and his clutch and his dunks and his First and foremost, it was really interesting to find out that Nike, I didn't realize that Nike wasn't popping back in the day, in the 80s, and it was Michael's shoe deal, the legendary, you know, Jordans, that really changed the culture. You know, I was too young to really understand that, the magnitude, and plus I'm in the UK as well, so basketball isn't our main sport. I mean, I got introduced to Michael Jordan by Space Jam in 96, I believe, so I was, for most of 96, I was 5 years old. One thing that I did notice though, throughout the whole documentary, he comes off like a bachelor. They touched on his rivalries, especially in the earlier part of his career, when the Chicago Bulls were facing the Detroit Pistons in the conference finals, and he really didn't like them. He really didn't like the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys. A lot of the other players were saying that, you know, the Detroit Pistons were very dirty players, and, you know, they were just saying, no, everybody played like that. You know, it was a very physical contact sport back in that era, and obviously now it's not, but they were probably just the best at being, you know, the physicality of the game. And it's funny because these things happened like almost 30 years ago. I mean, Michael was playing basketball, well, you know, in the NBA, maybe from like 84 or something like that, in the mid 80s, and he didn't win a championship until 91, I believe. I don't know, I just feel like, bro, like, I was born in 1990, I'm almost 30, and people still don't fuck with each other because of the relationship between Isaiah and Michael and some other people that were on the dream team. He didn't make the dream team being the basketball team that went to the 92 Olympics in Barcelona. Me personally, I think he should have been on the dream team, Isaiah Thomas that is, because it was such a big part of basketball history, American basketball history, and Isaiah was qualified to be part of that, but he wasn't part of that, and a lot of people say it's because of, you know, his beef with MJ. I think so too, that did play a part, but then also Isaiah wasn't, you know, well, they weren't fucking with Isaiah. People like Karl Malone, people like Scottie Pippen, the hater. I'll get onto Scottie in a minute. They didn't really like they didn't like Isaiah, so I kind of understand them not wanting to be, you know, around him for like a month or two. Then Isaiah, I feel like he needs to also reflect and think, you know, back then a lot of people didn't like me, even if it was just because of the way we played the game. These people didn't fuck with me. That's probably why I wasn't there. I liked the documentary as well because they didn't just focus on Michael, they focused on his other teammates, his coaches, Pat Riley, his the general manager at the time, Jerry Krause, who they really did not fucks with. Scottie Pippen, don't fucks with him. I have never fucks with him. I first knew about Scottie Pippen because his wife used to be on Real Housewives of Miami. I think they did do him wrong, Scottie Pippen. You know, they underpaid him. I mean, he signed a contract, but obviously he was underpaid. He was supposed to get surgery for his foot, but he decided to do it later in the season or something like that. You know, basically out to be petty, out of spite. And even Michael Jordan said that he thought that was a bit selfish. And there was a time that Michael wasn't in the group, and I think the coach didn't put him on the last play or something to shoot the basket. I don't know, something like that. And, you know, Scotty went into a little sulk like a little girl and refused to go on the court. And when asked about it, in this, you know, whenever they recorded it, as in like modern day, he didn't seem remorseful about it, or he said that he would do it again. Like, he doesn't regret doing it. Like, he would probably do it again. And I just thought, wrong and strong. Like, they also highlight Dennis Rodman. I think that was in episode 3. I mean, we all know Dennis Rodman for being a flamboyant. Well, he's not as flamboyant now. I mean, with all those piercings in his face, you know, it's hard to say he's not flamboyant, but, you know, there was a time that he was dressing up like as brides. He was partying all the time, makeup, wild outfits and stuff like that. He was just so out there. Like, I knew him because of that. I didn't even realize that he was a basketball player. I've never watched Dennis Rodman play. I've never seen a game up until the footage on this docuseries, and he was a great player. Like, it seems like he was a great defensive player. He put his all into the sport, even when he would go off and like be like, I need a break for like 3 days. You know, his teammates could still depend on him. It seemed like he had a good relationship with Michael as well. Like, Michael respected him because he knew he could do the job. And I just think Dennis Rodman just came across so beautifully. He's even got his own documentary, 30 for 30, as well, that I watched. And, you know, he had a very, very hard childhood and adolescent. I mean, they spoke about Steve Kerr as well. Steve Kerr is currently the coach at Golden State. They speak about Jordan's gambling. Well, you know, if it's really like an issue. I personally think it's an issue, because no one can come and tell me, oh, he's just really competitive. Like, there is like, you know, being competitive, like when the time for you to be competitive is like, okay, we're playing a game, or, you know, obviously they're playing sports, so during the games. But he was competitive with things that you didn't need a competition. Like, he would make a competition just so that he could win or try and beat you. And I think that is the problem in itself. They talk about his relationship with his parents, particularly his father, who was, you know, very influential to him when he was younger. And also, you know, especially in that first three-peat, unfortunately his dad was murdered, and people thought maybe his gambling issues were the reason why, you know, maybe that's the reason why his dad was murdered. I'm not going to say that that's the reason. However, I just think, having researched the circumstances around his dad's death, is just a bit dodgy. If there's no foul play, well, I mean, there was foul play, but if, you know, it was literally just his father being in the wrong place at the wrong time, then that is just so unfortunate. But to me, there just seems like there's something that they're not telling us, or I don't know. They discussed the break that Michael Jordan took to play baseball, in between the three-peats for a year and a half. He wasn't in the NBA. He was playing baseball, which is one of his first loves as well. That's something I didn't know until recently, before the documentary, but I didn't realise that he had a break to play another sport. But there are some other, like, sporting people, the sportsmen and sportswomen that have played two sports, even at the same time. Like someone like Deion Sanders, he played baseball and American football at the same time. It just seemed that Michael kind of decided to give up basketball when he was at the height of his career. Like, they'd just done the third consecutive championship win. You know, something I didn't realise, which I kind of knew, but I didn't really realise that he really wasn't like a freedom fighter compared to like other great sporting legends. black sporting legends, and people kind of got onto him for that. You know, he said, you know what, I don't want to endorse somebody that I actually don't know, which I understand, I get, but I just think in that time nobody was bigger than Michael Jordan, you know, in terms of, you know, a black sports star. So he would have been the perfect person. Like, you see people like LeBron now who speak out, and, you know, even recently he tweeted about, I can't remember the guy that passed name, but, you know, a guy was murdered basically just because of his skin color. Let's just be real. And LeBron was out here tweeting, you know, but MJ is just not that character, and he came under fire with that. President Obama was in the documentary as well, and he was like, you know what, he was kind of disappointed. I think that he was just living in the land of Michael Jordan, and he couldn't really relate for whatever reason, or he didn't want to relate to his kinfolk. Should I say kinfolk? And he just didn't want to relate to the other blacks. I think the biggest thing I took away from this docu-series so far, because there's still 2 episodes left, is that MJ is a motherfucking bully. Well, was a bully. I don't know what he's like in his everyday life now. I understand that he, you know, people consider him the greatest of all time, and for you to be at that high level in a group competitive sport, of course he has to be cutthroat, of course he has to be, you know, dominating, he has to be, you know, has to have that fire in him that a lot of his peers do not have or do not possess in terms of skill. Obviously he expected the best, but the thing with people like that is that they need to realize that not everyone is the best. You know, we can be all part of like the same choir, we all play our roles, we all sing our part, a soprano, alto, you know, all that stuff, but there's one person that has that voice, that gets that solo all the time because their voice is just ordained by God. That is somebody like Michael Jordan. His skill set at that time nobody could match. You know, I guess some people on the team, if he saw that there was a weakness, instead of kind of building them up, it just seems like he would break them down to the point where they didn't want to let him down, or they didn't want to see his bad side, so they would try harder. And I just think he led with fear as opposed to respect. You had people like Steve Kerr that did say, you know, there was one practice where, you know, I guess Michael was kind of going at him, he hit him in the chest, Michael punched him, and Michael even said he felt bad by it because, you know, Steve Kerr was like, you know, this one of the smallest guys on the team. I don't like people whose leadership style, whose, you know, their level of authority is based and built on fear. You know, there were some scenes with people like, I think his name is Scott or something, like one of the players' name was Scott, and he was just, I don't know, it just felt uncomfortable. Like, you know, there's people that when you're in a room with them and they start going in on someone, it's just uncomfortable to watch, to be around. And I can just imagine Horace Grant after one game, a game that I guess Horace didn't play well in, he told the waitress, the server, basically, no, he didn't have a good game today, don't give him any food. And it actually happened like that because Shannon Sharp spoke to Horace Grant, and Horace Grant confirmed the story. We will die on the line before we lose. I'm not like that. I'm more of, you know, it's the taking part that counts. It would be nice to win, and I'm going to try my hardest to win, but I know my limitations, you know. And someone like MJ, he wanted everyone around him to be at that elite level, and it's just not possible all the time. So you have to change the way you I mean, he's not the coach, but he was the leader, so the way he motivates his teammates and boost the morale is, to me, it just wasn't my style. I mean, the guys can complain, but I guess when you look at it the other way, they were winning, you know, for the most part of it. You know, being on a team with MJ, despite MJ's way, they were winning. That's basically my review or my recap, you know. Let me know what you think about the documentary as well. I mean, I do have a chat with some of my friends about it, and yeah, we love it. So guys, yeah, remember to like, share, subscribe, all that good ish, and I will see you for the next review. Bye.